What's going on YouTube? Yu-Gi-Oh! Journey here. Have you ever been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! With your friends and this happens to you?
I'm going to summon Foxy to the zone that Wolf points to, activate Wolf's effect. Not today, my guy. I'm going to use Borreload's effect to negate your Wolf. Activate Salamangreat Circle to protect Wolf. No, you're not. I'm detaching 2 material from Lagia to stop your circle from activating. Oh, really? Then I'll use Roar to negate the effect of Lagia. And then I'm going to use Rage to destroy the Pankratops and the Borreload. Oh, really? Well, I'm going to tribute my Pankratops to destroy your Salamangreat Foxy, and I'm going to effect Veiler your Wolf. So what happens now? Fuck, dude, I have no idea.
Well, now I'm going to show you just how to avoid all this in this video of effect chaining. So let's just jump on into it.
So basically this is how chaining works. So you start the chain in terms of like order of activation going up, and then when you complete it, you follow the chain back down. Let's use an example. Let's go over this example, right? So chain link 1 would be like the turn player activates Heavy Storm, which destroys all spells and traps on the field. And let's just say that the opponent has a Threatening Roar trap card set face down. Since it's a spell speed 2, they are allowed to activate it since Heavy Storm is a spell speed 1, and you can respond with the same spell speed or higher. So this prevents the opponent from declaring an attack this turn. And let's say that the turn player also had 7 Tools of the Bandit set, which is a spell speed 3 counter trap card, which would negate the effect of Threatening Roar. So you can actually use this as as an example of how this would resolve. So as you're building it, this is chain link 1, chain link 2, and chain link 3, right? Because you go in order of the activations. Then when you resolve it, you go backwards. So now 7 Tools of the Bandit would resolve, which would negate the effect of Threatening Roar. Threatening Roar's effect is negated, so this effect no longer is applied, and then Heavy Storm would activate to destroy all spells and traps on the field. And that's how that would work. A more relevant example would be something like, let's just say you have Red Eyes Dark Dragoon on the field, and then your opponent has like a Shaddoll Dragon. So with this example, I kind of want to go over how you can't just activate effects like willy-nilly. You have to follow the chain, and then once the chain is finished resolving, then effects can activate. So for example, with the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, you activate the effect to send the Shaddoll Dragon to the graveyard. So that effect is chain link 1. Once the effect resolves, assuming that there's no other responses, then the Shaddoll Dragon would be sent to the graveyard, and then that chain is resolved. Then the Shaddoll Dragon would start a new chain, because the first chain has already been resolved. So now with the chain link 1 would be Shaddoll Dragon activates its effect to destroy a spell or trap card on the graveyard. So it picks its target. This is where targeting is important, because you pick the target before, if a card targets, you pick the target before the chain is resolved. So they pick their target, right? And then let's just say that's a spell or trap card that you want to keep. So then you activate, in chain link 2, you would activate Red Eyes Dark Dragoon's effect to negate that effect by discarding a card. That effect has a cost of discarding a card. Whenever you activate an effect that has a cost, you must fulfill that cost upon activation. So you would discard a card, and then the effect on resolution would be to negate the Shaddoll Dragon. And then in response to your Red Eyes Dark Dragoon activation to negate, your opponent is like, Wapa! No, I'm stopping that with a Solemn Strike, which is a card that says when a monster would be special summoned or a monster effect is activated, pay 1,500 life points, negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So the paying the 1,500 life points is the cost. You can see the cost of cards if they have a semicolon. The semicolon will specify that it is a cost. So basically, if we just kind of recap what happened here, the previous chain was that the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon sent the Shaddoll Dragon to the graveyard. That chain resolved. Now in a new chain, chain link 1, Shaddoll Dragon targets a spell or trap card on your side of the field. Chain link 2, you activated Red Eyes Dark Dragoon to negate it by discarding a card. So that card that you discarded has been used as cost already now. Chain link 3, your opponent activates Solemn Strike to negate the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. And then basically their cost to be paying 1,500 life points. So basically what has happened is your opponent has targeted a card, you have discarded a card for a cost, and your opponent has paid 1,500 life points for another cost. And now what happens is Solemn Strike resolves, and also Solemn Strike is a counter trap, which is important to note because it can't be responded to with anything else other than another counter trap. But so Solemn Strike resolves, and it would negate the activation and destroy the card. However, Dark Dragoon does have an effect that does say it cannot be destroyed by card effects. So technically, it's not destroyed because that continuous effect is just always being applied. And then Chainlink 2, your effect is negated, so now you do not negate the Shaddoll Dragon's effect. And then Chainlink 1 resolves, and the Shaddoll Dragon would destroy the face down card. And that's kind of how chaining works. It is kind of a lot, but I think it's one of those things where the more you play and the more you interact with cards, the easier it is to understand. That was kind of a more detailed example, but that's one that you'd probably see more or less in actual like Yu-Gi-Oh play. So that's kind of why I wanted to give something like that. There is another thing we might want to go over as well called turn player priority. Basically, the turn player always starts with priority to activate a card first. So as long as the turn player has priority, the opponent cannot activate cards or effects except for effects that activate automatically, like trigger or flip effects. So the turn player can either use priority to play a card or activate an effect, or pass priority so that they can have the chance to activate an effect. So essentially, in a neutral game state, which means that no effects are resolving or anything like that, the turn player has priority to do something, to do an action. So they can summon a monster, they can activate a card effect, things like that, and then the opponent can respond. They can't just activate cards out of nowhere, and just like, it's not like a race to like whoever can do whatever first. It's a little bit more mapped out than that. So this is the chart that more or less details priority and when effects can be activated, like especially when it comes to like monster effects, like trigger effects, ignition effects, etc. It's a pretty crazy chart. It's not something I'm going to go over right now, but like I said, it is a lot more mapped out than it might seem, and it is basically a chart that would take it basically an entire video to go over in and of itself, which is something I do plan on doing, but for now I just want to cover the basics. Alright guys, that's going to just about cover this episode. And remember, if you liked the video, feel free to leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe as well. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.